Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a program that works with vectors, and basically it lets you add a value to the vector, find the value, display the vector, and check if the value is repeated. Okay, so remember to include vectors since we're going to be working with vectors. Okay, so we're going to need a vector of ints. Let's call it the vector. And we're going to need the user's choice. And let's get the int from a function. Let's name it display option. So since display option is going to return an int, let's make the function right now. Okay, so the user needs a choice. Choice one. Actually, I already wrote that down here. Yeah, pretty much it. So then the user is going to enter his choice, and we're going to return the choice. Okay. So let's go back down here. Let's end this line, and now let's make a while loop. So while the user choice does not equal 5, because we said 5 is to quit. So while he doesn't quit, we're going to have a bunch of options. Okay, so if the user choice is 1, then 1 adds a value, so we're going to tell the user which value to add. So we're going to need a variable to hold that value. Let's call it a. We see an a. Now we say the vector dot push back a. Pushback just adds the value to the back of the vector. And that's it for choice 1. Okay, so else if user choice is 2, if it's 2, we want to find the value. Alright, so let's ask the user what position in the vector do you want to look at? Right, so we're going to need another variable to store the choice. Let's get the choice, and let's just see out the vector at position a minus 1, because remember vectors have a 0 index, so the user's not going to put 0 to see the first one, he's going to put 1, so that's why I did a minus 1. Okay, so else if user choice is equal to 3, we said 3 is to display the vector, so let's just make that into a function, display vector, and we got to pass in the vector. Right, so let's go up here and write the function. Okay, so it's going to be of type void, name it display vector. The parameter is going to have a vector of ints. Let's just call it the vector. Right, okay, so now we need a for loop. You can use an iterator too, if you want to. I'll show you at the end how to do it with that if I have enough time. So int I equals 0 as long as I is less than the vector dot size. Then we want to keep showing the values. So basically we just see out the vector at position I, and let's add a space. Right, should be it. Let's just end the line. Okay, let's go back down to the main function. Okay, so else if user choice is 4 is to check if the value repeats. Yeah, if the value is repeated. Okay, so we're gonna see out what value do you want to check for. Let's make an integer variable. Let's see in the value, and let's pass that to a function. Let's name it isValueRepeated. IsValueRepeated. We gotta pass in the vector and the value. Okay, so let's write the function right now. So void isValueRepeated. It's gonna have a vector of int as a parameter and the int value. Right, so we're gonna need a counter. Counter equals 0. Okay, I already wrote part of the function here. Okay, so now we need a for loop. So for int I equals 0, as long as I is less than the vector dot size, we keep increasing the value of I. Right? So now this is what I put inside the for loop. So if counter, I'm sorry, so get rid of this and this. It's basically for the for loop. It's going to go through the for loop, right? And we're going to write if the vector at position I is equal to the value, then we're going to increment the counter. And that's it inside the for loop, right? So now if the counter was 0, that means the value was never there. If the counter was 1, that means the value appeared once. And if it's not 0, 1, that means it's repeated more than once. Right? Okay, so let's go back to the main function. So we did 4. Okay, so now all we want to write inside here is change the user choice. So user choice equals, and it's going to display option again. That's because it's in a while loop right here. So now it's going to change the user choice. And that's pretty much it. In here, let's return 0. And let's run this. Okay, so it's going to tell me to add a value, find a value, display vector, is value repeated, or quit. So let's say I want to add a value. I want to add the number 1. I want to add a value again. I'm going to add the value 2. Now I want to display the vector. It's going to say 1 and 2. Let's add another value. Let's add the value 1. Now let's check if a value is repeated. So I'm going to press 4. I want to check for 1. And it said the value repeated more than once. And let's say I want to find the value at position 1. It should be 1. And it says 1. I should have added a end line here, but it's fine. Alright, thank you for watching. I hope that was helpful.